Well, howdy y'all, I am Dan Fowler, creator of Screaming Soup, the web's #1 animated horror host show. If you are a big fan of horror movies and reviews online and anything animated, then we're kind of like Mr. Science Theater had a love child with Space Ghost Coast to Coast and was raised by Joe Bob Briggs from TNT's Monster Vision. We are currently running 4 seasons strong. We just came off an impressive 4th season where we had a 10-episode crossover with Full Moon with Charlie Band and all his creations from Puppet Master and Evil Bong and Ginger Dead Man with explosive season finale that just happened last month. And with me is my wife and collaborator in Screaming Soup.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And then with us is our buddy Chuck. Chuck helps out every so often with Screaming Soup. He kind of helps us pick out like what movies we maybe need to check out and review, and tells us if we're on the right track for supporting things on the show. Okay.
So you guys like horror movies? You're a couple. You appear to be together. Is that one thing you had to make sure you were good on before you started? Does that help make a friendship?
Does that mean kind of together, or are we kind of?
Why you got to single him out? There's a whole. You're excluding him.
Well, just because I was going to tell a little bit of our origin story. When we first started dating and getting serious, we made sure that we agreed on all the important things in life. You know, sex, money, politics, religion, and whether we both like horror movies. And I was like, yeah, this is perfect. We both love horror movies. But then, you always find out a little bit more about a person as you proceed in a relationship. I learned that he likes really, really bad horror movies. So there's a whole subgenre out there that I didn't even know about, but now we make fun of it and have a good time on our web series. So tonight we picked some of the wildest ones that he's introduced me to, and I'm just going to sort of give you a little idea of what it's about and let them go into depth. And by no means are we endorsing these movies and saying, oh yes, you must go see this. We just want you to know that there's some weirder stuff out there than you may think if you're more of a mainstream horror fan.
Well, I'm endorsing them. I think Chuck's endorsing them.
Yeah.
Chuck's proud to stand by these films as merits of stellar filmmaking, aren't you?
Yes.
So this will be interesting. Maybe we'll talk about the pros and talk about the cons, and we'll debate why it's a good or bad movie then.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a debate, but we'll let the audience decide. Okay. You ready for the first one?
Yeah, but just as a disclaimer, it's not so much about liking the bad movies, but I've watched all the mainstream movies, so a lot of these we're going to be pulling from the bottom of the barrel, because after you've seen all the Jason Freddy's, where do you go from there? You got to look elsewhere, and there's lots of stuff out there. You just have to be willing to sit through it, find the gold nuggets, and be able to separate those from
the brown nuggets.
The brown nuggets. The smelly brown nuggets.
Okay, so this first one makes me want to invest in cooking lessons, because I found out that a man can get really upset and take some drastic measures when he doesn't get enough home-cooked meals. This is Microwave Massacre.
For those who don't know, this movie came out in the early 80s. This is starring the man who is the voice behind Frosty the Snowman, popular movie you more than likely was raised on as a kid through Christmas. And what happens is his wife buys the microwave, and she's going to make him like the most fantastic, healthy meals that he could ever have, but he just thinks it's shit. He wants nothing to do with it. And out of just frustration one night, he ends up just killing her because he wanted no more of this food. And I forget what exactly the motivation was, but it's like he was chopping her up and sticking her in the fridge in the garage, and he just started having like a little nibble out of curiosity, and then it just sort of blossomed into this horrible need to be a cannibal. And so he starts bringing hookers and streetwalkers back. Come on in. And starts like street
We just said streetwalkers. Come on.
I said hookers and streetwalkers.
Hookers and streetwalkers, and he's out.
Walks away. I got to ask my mom if I can prepare some.
He was probably just here for that wedding anyway.
Accidental.
Anyway. So this is a great movie to check out. This is actually, it may still be up on YouTube, is how I watched this, and it's got one of the best openings I've ever seen to a horror movie, where this very buxom lady is walking down the street while they focus on her talents, and it's just an unforgettable opening. The movie itself is just funny, and it's very campy the way they deal with him and his wife as it progresses.
Okay, so a lot of movies out there about demon possession. I've seen lots of different types of people get possessed, and even objects in the cheesy Amityville sequels, the lamp, the dollhouse, the clock. Well, in this one, the demon takes over a motorcycle.
So, and I bought a vampire motorcycle. This is a British film. Some cultists are holding a dark ritual in a cemetery, and unfortunately it gets interrupted, and the demon they're trying to resurrect, which I can't remember if it's specifically the devil or not, but it gets trapped in this motorcycle. It's a Norton motorcycle, and so somebody ends up buying the motorcycle, and before they know it, it's killing people, drinking this blood, because that seems to be the fuel it runs on. And its handlebars warp into these horns. It's got projectile spikes that come out of the tank and kill people. It's so gung-ho about getting whoever it can. It will go up walls, it'll go through water. It eats people with its broken headlight. And the funniest thing about this movie is one of the heroes, because the hero who bought the motorcycle, he has to team up with a pastor, and the pastor is a badass trike-riding Anthony Daniels. So he's definitely memorable in the movie as like one of the best cinematic pastors next to the Kung Fu priest from Dead Alive. And you've not seen this?
I have not seen this, but it is now on the must-see list.
Not on the must-see list.
It is.
Yeah, because what I loved about it was I'm not the biggest fan of vampire movies, but the fact they really mixed it up and gave us like, what if we made a vampire motorcycle?
I wonder what kind of drugs you have to be on to ask yourself that question.
Well said.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah,
that's
what
it.
you at?
Okay, next we have another motorcycle movie, but this time it's not the motorcycle that's killing people, it's the guy on the motorcycle, but the twist is that he's doing it with an electric chair that's actually part of the motorcycle. Because I believe he was scheduled for execution at one time, is that right?
The mystery is, in this movie, a gang leader has been sent to death row. So the question and the mystery of the whole movie is this a guy who is getting revenge on those who sent him to death row, or is this the ghost of the guy who was on death row? But it is kind of funny because...
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But it's funny because, yeah,
we all want to watch this. We want to know.
Is there a reason this kind of reminds me of The Wraith?
A little bit. It does, but I would dare say The Wraith is much better than this.
Oh.
This particular film, the MO is killing people with electricity. Like she said, there's a electric chair in the back of the motorcycle. I don't know how many people he expected to be tricked into riding bitch on his motorcycle to be killed. Unfortunately, that's the only time he uses the motorcycle.
If you have to get that up to 88 miles an hour.
That's good. That would have been kick-ass if he
That's
did.
what charges it.
That would have been kick-ass if he did that.
Well, like a lot of little girls, when I went away to college, I was a little bit scared and intimidated by the big world, so I took my teddy bear with me. Slept with it every night for at least the first year, because teddy bears are supposed to be comforting, right? But this college girl finds out what happens when Teddy Ruxpin attacks.
So in Girls' Night Out, another 80s film, there is a college where they're having a scavenger hunt, and the DJ in the school radio is helping people try to find all this stuff they have to collect. Unknown to them, someone has killed the mascot, stolen his costume, and you can't really, if you can kind of sort of tell from the screen there, in the costume he has replaced, or not even replaced, he just added butcher knives as the claws in this bear costume that he just shoved through the hand of it. So he's walking around campus, everyone's like, oh, the mascot, yay! And he just slashes him with these butcher knives.
Go Bears!
And you haven't seen this one either.
I have not.
You're losing a lot of points with me not seeing so much of this.
I know. I think this movie is what inspired Snuggle Fabric Softener to adopt. Snuggle
Think about that.
Bears to redeem their image, right?
Yeah.
Now, but compared to something like Grizzly, have you seen Grizzly or Grizzly 2?
I saw the original. Yes.
You saw the original?
Yes.
So, yeah, that's...
Yeah, but that was a real bear.
Well, it's a real guy in a bear suit.
Well,
How many of you have seen Cheers? Watched the TV show Cheers? You remember the wooden Indian that always stood there at the door, Tecumseh, and the rival bar would steal him every now and then? Well, think about what would happen if Tecumseh came to life and made your greatest fears come true just by looking at you.
Yeah, what you're looking at here is Morty. Morty is a wooden Native American for a little shop, and his owner, his sons come back to be in a cabin with his buddies and do like some studies of fear, and somehow Morty comes back to life. He's magical, and he starts making them have to face their worst fears, and he starts killing them off as they're in fear for their lives. What's crazy about this one is Wes Craven was part of the production of this one, or at least cameoed in the first one, and then they made a sequel, and the sequel is when they really went off the rails and tried to copy a little too much of Freddy Krueger, because in the sequel you have people who go to a Halloween party that's hosted by Betsy Palmer, and they're wearing the worst Halloween costumes you've ever seen, and Morty, they magically bring him back to life with no real explanation whatsoever. And as they bring him back to life, he starts talking like Freddy Krueger and really starts trying to freak him out that way like he did, but he fails so miserably. It just does not work for him to try to pretend to be Freddy Krueger.
Well, it was the thing to do in the 80s, I suppose.
Now, have you ever, can you think of any other movies that had a better wooden Native American? I can think of one. I want to know if you can think of it.
Oh.
Anyone.
Yeah,
Someone surely has seen, what?
I said this one's open to discussion. No, not a wooden one.
Creepshow 2.
Oh.
Creepshow 2.
You're the real horror
I
fan over
actually
here.
enjoyed this.
So you saw both of them?
I guess. Yeah, and I no. 2 is as bad as Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, it really is. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it's like I said, the wooden dummy comes back to life with no real explanation. He just starts talking like Freddy Krueger and trying to taunt people, these jokes, and you're just like, Morty. But if you think that's bad, I mean, when you try to copy Freddy Krueger, that's hard enough, but can you imagine when you try to copy something as famous as Jaws?
Yeah, and this one, I think kind of like Caddyshack, but it's not an evil gopher that takes over. It's the lawnmowers attack. So not even your local country club is safe from horror in Blades.
But they play it so straight.
Yeah, they play it so straight, but I swear, I mean, it's got to be a parody, I think.
Oh, well, yeah, it's certainly a parody. But
Certainly an homage, I would say.
But they follow the exact same formula. That's what makes it so funny. Like, instead of the coastal town trying not to shut down the big tourist time of year because of the shark, and then you got people going after the shark, this one is a country club. It's like, there's not really much of an explanation for this one. I think it's just simply a ghost takes over this mower, this big-ass mower, and it goes after people, and people who are not wanting to believe, people who saw it, they try to, like, watch out for it, and somehow a mower keeps sneaking up and grabbing children and pulling them into the weeds and hacking them pieces. And then by the end, you have your Quint character, who you see kind of half-eaten here, or half-mowed. There's a Quint character that he's like the groundskeeper. He knows the history of where this mower came from and how it magically came to life. And they even follow the same formula as Jaws, where he and 2 other people get into a big-ass van and go hunt for this mower on this golf course. And it starts like knocking the van around and crushing it, and then people are spilling out, and then it eats up this guy like the shark ate, or Bruce ate Quint.
Was there a scientist, Richard Dreyfuss, along on this expedition?
You know, it's been so long, I can't remember what the third guy's business was. First guy acted like the sheriff. He was one responsible for the country club, and I forget what the second guy's business was.
Well, we have to save something in case they want to see it.
Scientist.
Yeah. I
think that's fair.
Or, groundskeeper.
It really is very funny.
Or a golf pro.
It is, but they do play it straight. It's almost a little too serious. Takes itself a little too serious.
Okay, so you're already on an island surrounded by acid. That's enough of a problem. What else could go wrong when you're on this island, trapped, and there are these little nutcracker-looking things that are everywhere. They move slowly and awkwardly, but they're after you, and you can't leave because of the acid.
Yeah, I don't. I bet you cannot think of another movie that has. I can think of plenty of movies where monsters have about as much movement as a Mexican action figure. I just can't think of one where they look like nutcrackers. But this is actually a well-made film. They do it seriously, but it's just such a silly concept for a monster. But this was a really good film because, like you said, they get shipwrecked. They're surrounded by these little critters, but the way they introduce them is so freaky. And I actually got to give them props for that one because they're like around a campfire and they hear these little like all around them, and they're like, "What is that?" And then look out into the darkness. All you see are the little glowing eyes, and that was pretty freaky the way they did the glowing eyes. But then they show, it's just these little.
Then you see what they're attached to. It's like, nah.
Yeah,
okay.
then you see what they are.
I'm good. I'll jump in the acid.
And they're either just standing around, or they're hanging in a tree, or they have to sew them, and then the actors' clothes when they throw themselves around.
Did anybody else feel that they came up with the title just by taking 3 words and putting them together?
It's like they had Mad Lib before Mad Lib, and just kind of, that works. Or they had one of those charts you find where it's like, okay, the year you were born. Okay, this word.
One word from this column, one word from this column, one word from this column. And we have your movie title. Attack, Beast, Creature.
They probably came up with about as much as porn stars come up with their names, which you know that formula, right? Do you guys know that formula for how to come up with your porn star name? It's the name of your first dog and the name of the street you grew up on. Mine was the best. What was yours? I'm going to hear your sad one first.
Oh, let's see. What was mine? Yeah, I think I was Rusty Creek or something.
What was yours?
Ralphie Ridge. That doesn't sound good either.
No, mine was the best.
That's not sexy at all.
Mine was Buster Springs.
Okay. A lot of horror movies are about science gone wrong. In this one, the mad scientist, who's actually a respectable actress that I'll let him tell you about, is so enamored by the Jurassic era, she wants to bring dinosaurs back. And like a lot of movies he makes me watch, I've sort of blocked out the details of this one, but it has something to do with chicken eggs and using human females to birth these monsters.
Yeah, so this was...
Don't question the science.
So this is a Roger Corman spoof, sort of Jurassic Park that came out at the time. So Jurassic Park's famous and popular, and everybody wants to start trying to make money off of that dinosaur craze. He comes out with Carnosaur. Carnosaur, Diane Ladd, who's a scientist in the middle there,
I'm impressed he got Diane Ladd.
Oh no! I read the Roger Corman's book. It took a lot to convince her. The whole point of the movie, she thinks dinosaurs need to rule the earth again. The way she was going to bring the dinosaurs back is she injects dinosaur DNA into chicken eggs. So as the chicken eggs go out into the town, the people are eating them. The women who eat the chicken eggs are birthing dinosaurs like aliens out of their stomachs, like she is right there in the middle. And then they grow to full size, like you see in the corner there. And then you have the men who, if they eat them, they die. So the men are dying off, women are breeding the new dinosaurs. And I cannot, for the life of me, ever figure out the cover. I keep seeing this cover where you can see the titles over the dinosaur's face. I don't know if that was to emphasize like he's so big you couldn't fit him on the cover, or if that was just complete sloppy graphic designer work there. But if you do
go with that.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I'm going with 2.
But if you do go and see this, just know that there's 2 more movies. There's 3 of these movies total, and the second one is more like Aliens. Aliens 2 is about a bunch of commandos go into like a fort underground, and they got to fight a lot of these same kind of dinosaurs.
There's nothing really notable about the villain in this one, our killer, but wait till you hear his voice.
Yeah, the voice is what's funny about this.
Speaking, what do you want? The only thing I'd like, I really like, is to meet you face to face.
We're just about there, 1 minute more. It's somewhere down the lower west side, 5th sector.
Starting within the lower west side.
So I think that's enough of that. So you've got the killer is talking like Donald Duck the whole movie. It's a very serious movie, but it's a hypersexual kind of movie at times, which makes it really dark. But it's just so thrown off when you got the killer talking like Donald Duck and going whenever he kills somebody, even when he's stabbing somebody.
Sounds like Mickey Mouse makes sense.
Yeah, let's all the characters. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. And if you guys didn't recognize, that was actually Tom Atkins' voice on the other side of the phone. You may remember him from Night of the Creeps. He's the guy that keeps going, "Thrill Me." And he's also from The Fog and Halloween 3.
This one, the next movie, Killer Tongue, we had in our panel last night on the most how do we put it? The most outrageously orgasmic sex scenes in horror. So I'm going to let my partner here talk about the Killer Tongue.
Now, in this particular film, this is pretty interesting because this has Robert Englund and Doug Bradley in it. If you know who they are, that's Freddy Krueger and Pinhead. And they're not little flyby cameos. They're like characters in this movie, but a guy goes to jail. His girlfriend is back home trying to plot his escape from his jail, and this is in, I think, Mexico. But they run into problems because an alien crash lands in her backyard, basically, and invades her face.
That is the problem.
And it's this killer tongue. So this killer tongue's basically making her do things that she doesn't necessarily want to do. It gives her like this crazy kind of like symbiotic sort of outfit that she's wearing. And if you don't recognize her, if you've ever seen Return of the Living Dead 3, she's the chick that's like impaling herself with metal the whole time. Very memorable because a lot of crazy things happen. Robert Englund plays like a warden of a prison that's chasing fugitives. Doug Bradley's a fugitive that's like running with her boyfriend is trying to get back to her while she's dealing with her own problems. Mainly, the killer tongue turns all of her dogs into these flamboyant manservants that are bringing people back for her to kill to satisfy the tongue. And the tongue is trying to calm her down all the time by having sex with her.
Oh.
So there's a
You should have been at last night's panel.
Yeah, last night's panel.
Is that sexual masturbation?
It essentially is.
Tomato. Some things you wish you could just do yourself.
Well, she technically was. She technically was. But yeah, it's not a very. If you ever decide to check it out, surprisingly, there's no nudity, there's no boobs in this, but there is like some dirty scenes where the tongue is essentially pleasuring her.
Yeah, and since you mentioned that, if you watch our animated web series with the reviews, Screaming Soup, he gives a boob count of every horror movie, so you'll know exactly what you're in for.
And we show the boobs, so there's never, even if the movie didn't have boobs, we'll still show you boobs.
Just some boobs that we found somewhere. Not mine, not his, just somebody.
Oh, I'm sorry, highest boob count? Wow. I think it might have been, man. I just reviewed Toxic Avenger lately, the whole series, and I think Toxic Avenger 4 might have had the biggest boob count I've counted so far, and that was like in the teens. You see, but it's very close. I actually need to keep track of that better because I keep track of how much pissing time's in a movie, how many bogus scares are in a movie, how many boobs, and how many deaths.
On the boob count, is that pairs or individual?
Pairs.
Pairs.
The way I phrase it, I say how many times you see boobs. It's like, okay, so like one woman, or if it's the same woman, you see 3 different scenes, so it's 3 times you see boobs. So the next one.
Boob counting's not as easy as you thought.
I've actually had to debate with somebody, a director, Slime City Massacre. He saw my review of his film, and he actually contacted me and said, I think you're wrong about this boob count. I'm like, well, no. Let me explain. It's like we see 2 women's full breast, and then there's one woman that we saw a side boob. He goes, oh.
So is that like a boob and a fourth?
Side boob doesn't count.
No. Well, it does if you see the nipple.
Okay.
If you see a nipple, I think it counts.
Technicality, you got it.
Kind of like half of it.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about nerds.
Okay, this next one will make you think twice about bullying anyone ever, especially a nerd.
If you've never seen this, again, this is one of Troma's films, so this is on YouTube from the filmmakers. This film is about the nerd that you see here. And what it's about is he is on the prowl for a lady of the night. So he takes all these self-help tapes, he watches them and tells them how to dress. And he talks in a voice like this. I'm on the prowl. It goes horribly wrong because he does meet a girl, but she unfortunately is surrounded by some guys who don't like nerds very much, and they beat him up more than any scene that you see nerds take a beating in Revenge of the Nerds. And so he snaps, and he goes and he attacks he goes and kills his mom, he goes kills these bullies, he goes kills people that just, whoever treated them wrong. And the best scene in the movie is at the very end, because as silly as a movie as it is, it's respectful the way they do it. And the best scene in the movie is down there in the corner. You see a guy who's got, you probably can't tell from there, he's got wearing a dynamite hat. So they have a really nice explosion at the end where he blows up a guy's head.
So nerds are creative with their kills.
Yes. And if you thought that was awesome enough.
So what happens after the nerd kind of...
They made a sequel.
Gets into the groove and he pushes back? Well, of course, he gets the girl. But the girl, also being a nerd, needs to have her time of revenge, so they turn into a really freaky sort of Bonnie and Clyde killer team for a while.
No, you're not thinking this is Revenge of the Nerds still, right? You know this is a different movie.
Yes, different.
Okay. Yeah, so in this movie
this is the prequel. Right?
No, this is sequel.
The prequel to Revenge.
You know, it might be.
Yeah, these were the parents.
Yes. Now, what's funny about this is, so the nerd does find a girl. They do get together, and she has her own bully. So the kind of is more about her. He's just sort of kind of serves as the motivation for her to start attacking people that wronged her, because she goes to a party with the popular people. They tell her, "Oh, we're going to give you a makeover. We're going to make you look beautiful," and they end up making her like this kabuki woman. So she's all embarrassed because she doesn't know her face looks like that, runs out back in the party, everybody's laughing at her. And what's so crazy about it is, of all the things the first dude to get revenge, her first victim is she decides to give him a blowjob while looking like this and bites his dick off. So you just wouldn't expect that. You would think she would try to, just stab him or something. I wouldn't think she'd be going to those measures just to do that.
Well, you always up the ante in the sequel, right? More kills, more gruesome.
I guess, but but I would think it only makes sense if they sexually assaulted her or something like "I spit on your grave," but that wasn't the case here.
She's just angry. You never know what an angry woman will do.
Yeah.
That's what a normal person would do.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. All right, so I've said that we've had some disagreements about what horror movies we should watch and the quality that we're willing to sink to, even for purposes of parody and review. But this one was the only moment that really made me question what I'd gotten myself into in life. Now, I'm a writer, so I admit I'm a sucker for any kind of writer movie. Of course, like 12 Things by Stephen King, if it's on the Hallmark Channel or Lifetime, I'll watch it if the main character is a writer. I don't care if it's bad. And so I read the little description of this one, which obviously wasn't very descriptive, and I said, oh, this one's about an artist who's lost his inspiration. And we should watch this because he's the artist in the family. And I thought, we'd be taking a break from all the writer movies. And he's like, yeah, okay. And I don't know if they can see that there at the top of the DVD.
Yeah,
that was not
the description.
That was
missed
not
the tagline
in the description that I read. So let's say this artist has to go to a deep, dark place to find his inspiration.
Yeah, for those who can't see that, the deep dark tagline is, "This is no glory hole." So what this is about is the artist is a struggling artist. He wants to be big time. He goes to his uncle, who is a successful artist, and asks him for help. He says, well, I got a lot of inspiration from my old place. You go stay there rent-free for a little while, see what you can come up with. And that's where he finds this hole in the wall that's talking to him with a female's voice. So this hole in the wall starts helping him by providing the pieces he needs for his sculptures. So it regurgitates these pieces out of the hole for him. But after a while, regurgitating so many pieces, he has to, or it feels strained and it feels stressed. She tells the artist, I need help relaxing. Could you help me relax? So, okay, how can I do that? How can I do that? Well, I could.
And that's the moment when I was like, no, they're not.
You just put your
no.
Well, now it starts off just innocently enough with just a kiss. Maybe a little bit of a French here and there.
Just making out with a wall in your house.
But the more it progressed, the worse the movie got. And sure enough, eventually he does stick his dick in the hole.
Nice.
And then other people find out where he's finding his success, so they come and they have to have the hole. And someone even tries to cut it out of the wall and
then
steal it.
the hole gets too big.
So the hole becomes a hoe.
Inspiration's not.
It's a hoe hole.
But I will spoil this much for you if you ever have interest in checking out this film. The mystery that really keeps you hooked to the end is, well, one, it was Willie put his dick in it. So you get, yeah, okay, he did that. But it's nothing graphic. You don't actually see it. You just see like his backside in the wall.
Go in the hole? Like a portal?
No, that's the other thing. You're hooked because you're watching this. You're like, okay, well, I want to know what's on the other side of the hole. Is it a monster? Is it something manipulating him? So it's like a demon trying to come back. You never find out because someone tries to cut it out of the wall to steal it, ends up like bleeding all over the place and dying. So you never find out what this was, where it came from. Yeah, that's about it. It's not. It's not a happy ending.
I'm sure that hole was, though.
Not a happy ending.
The hole is pretty satisfying.
All right.
I'll let you take this.
All right, for this one, I'm going to talk about this one because I saw the. Have you seen this one, Chuck? But you have seen Dracula.
Yes.
You've seen the Wolfman.
Yes.
You've seen the Mummy.
Yes.
You've seen Frankenstein.
Yes.
Have you ever seen them as midgets, or little people, whatever you want to call them?
I think midgets is safe for this crowd.
It's okay. It's safer. Okay. So in this particular movie, this is from Full Moon. This is a guy who somehow creates a machine that can turn literature into living things, and he takes his favorite monster books and he creates the monsters, but unfortunately they're midgets. So to make them full-size monsters to help him like rule the world or whatever he's got to do, they have to find a woman and sacrifice her. So it's kind of a funny, just these short actors just trying to grab women and drag them back, and you can see a little bit of the Wolfman molesting that one in the corner.
So question, did they turn out like midgets because they were children's books that he read?
No.
I mean, what was the disconnect with the science?
He did
the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, he did the Cliff. There you go.
Okay.
Cliff Notes.
Yeah, that's what you get for cheating in school, kids.
So if you want to make monsters, read the real book.
Oh my, so this next one obviously features a nail gun. What else was I going to say? I lost my mind with the glory hole one.
Just read it.
It has a nail gun, of course, and a motorcycle again, and this one also involves a hearse with this freaky killer as sort of a strange getaway car / assault vehicle.
Yeah, so now, Chuck, if you can't have a chainsaw with you, the cheapest thing you can go with is a nail gun. And you get what we have here, the Nailgun Massacre, a very penetrating story.
A staple gun.
Oh, that's good. Staple gun.
Absolutely riveting.
Staple gun massacre.
Staple gun massacre.
Office Space gone wrong.
How many times have you had to staple somebody to kill anything?
Probably a
lot.
lot.
Probably a lot.
I mean, if you stick them in the chest, probably close to 100. I mean, that's just a guess because, it wouldn't penetrate too deep, so.
You know
You
what,
just have
Chuck?
to try to do it someplace really sensitive and hope they die of a heart
I changed my
attack.
mind, Chuck. I don't think this movie's not going to work. This movie's not going to fly.
veins or arteries.
I just got what you said.
Go into that.
Well, no, just to cover this real quick. Nailgun Massacre, this is about people in Texas, I think it is. There's a woman that gets sexually assaulted on a construction site, and then months later, you got this guy chasing people down in a hearse.
Always Texas.
And he's got these funny puns he's throwing out the whole time about nailing people while they're trying to make love or even in the pool. And the big mystery, of course, it's a Scooby-Doo mystery. Can we unmask this guy and figure out who he is and then which character it is by the end. But, I mean, I know a lot of these characters are a little obscure. You know, probably a lot of you haven't heard of them. But there is one that I know all of you have to have heard of, and that is Bigfoot.
The saddest part about his picking this one for the discussion is that we had to talk for about, 5 minutes yesterday, and I'm like, is this the one where the guy and the girl who are a couple, they're doing a documentary and they go and interview people and it's really good, but then they die in the tent? And he's like, no, it's not that one. I said, okay, is this the one where, anyway, this went on for a while, but
Because there's so many.
this is the Bigfoot movie we went with.
Yeah, this is Night of the Demon. I first heard about this on Cinemassacre, an angry video game nerd doing Monster Madness, which I love watching every year. And he talked about this, and he made it sound so bad. He showed some clips, like, awful movie, and they do this and do that. I'm like, why? I still like to see it. And then I watch it, and I actually end up loving it. It's actually, I thought, a well-made movie because you have these people from a college that are looking for Bigfoot in the woods, and while they're looking for Bigfoot, they're going over other people's accounts that they collected of these Bigfoot stories. And these are like the cutaways of these other like murder scenes where Bigfoot's killing all these people. And I thought it had one of the funniest moments.
This is the craziest kill scene.
Now, are you guys fans of Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees. A lot of people's favorite death in a Jason Voorhees movie is the sleeping bag death, where he picks someone up in a sleeping bag, just slings it down, just killing him against trees and stuff. I couldn't get over this scene with this particular sleeping bag.
From motion sickness, that was not my favorite thing to look at, but you have to look. It's hilarious. Well, I'll let Dan tell you about the plot of this next one, but I described the monsters in this one like a really bad night at Party City.
Yeah, this is us getting into a little bit of more of the Monster Mash kind of silly movies where you're going to get more than one monster. This one in particular, if you've ever seen this one, holy crap, this is a hodgepodge of just God knows what from how many different stories and attempts that someone made at trying to make a film. You've got this sorcerer who lives in this mansion with a woman who doesn't want to be his wife, and he's making her stay with him, but the only way they keep her with him is to like at this annual time, he has to do like this ritual that keeps her stuck with him. And with this ritual, he brings together. This is the weird part too. You've got what seems like high school, college-age partiers flying down the road with what looks like a bunch of office co-workers. It makes no sense why they're together, and they're trying to find some place that they can just go crash and party. And you're like, well, why don't they just go to one of the office co-workers' homes or apartment instead of like trying to find an abandoned like hole in the wall on the side of the highway?
Yeah, 20 minutes in, we were like, wait, how do these people know each other?
But they get to this house, and then they encounter all these different monsters. And the monsters range from all over the place. You have people in makeup, like this Spider Woman on the side. You got this head that blows up. You have like this Party City looking puppet prop thing in the bottom that God knows what the hell that even is. You have these scenes that are just like thrown in with characters that have nothing to do with the plot. Like a kid runs up to the mansion and ends up being like pulled down into a grave, and you never hear from him again.
It's just one of those huge fucking I'm watching.
It really is. And these are some of the other monsters, because you have these zombies that pop up and they're farting the whole time when they come out of this like mud grave. Farting. Like they come the whole time. The whole scene all here is.
That's not like the goo that's like...
Yeah, it's the same. It's probably just a sound effect.
Is this like a serious movie?
No. We're not I say no out of instinct, but I don't know.
I think it takes itself as seriously as a comedy. It takes itself seriously as a comedy. Someone took this as a serious horror movie, but they just
It's not a parody.
You tried dying without grabbing your pants. It's hard.
It's just one of those hilariously bad.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
to me.
Because even the Grim Reaper
It's
blows
like
up in
House of
it.
the Dead matched up with Mad Monster Party, and it's just.
All right, now you've actually been. I'm going to single you out because you've impressed me with how much you know. You know more than this guy, and I think you should start trading places here.
We need to get his number.
I am a fanatic.
Well, let's see if you're a big enough fanatic. Now, I've had a lot of fans suggest this one to me, and I'm going to review it next season because I had so many asking me to look at this one. Winterbeast. You haven't heard of that one? Okay.
Okay, well, lots of times politicians are to blame for the problems that we have in this world, right?
Yep.
And we mentioned Jaws earlier. Remember the mayor who he knows there's the shark out there, but he doesn't want to close the beaches because he's too greedy because the 4th of July is coming up? Well, this mayor goes one better. He makes a deal with the devil right before the annual winter festival.
Yeah, this is another hodgepodge like the last one. Somebody, and this is, I do know the truth behind this one because there was enough facts and articles about it. So this is another filmmaker where he tried to make a film over so many years. It just kept changing and being different and did all these different effects. And he just tried to cobble it all together into one story about this town that had these, basically made a deal with a demon or a devil or something a long time ago. And now it's like it's coming to collect unless it performs a ritual that requires a lot of sacrifice and death. So, but the monsters are just all over the place because you have monsters that are stop motion, you have guys in suits, guys in makeup. There's a moment where these guys, in the top images here, these guys are just wandering around like this kind of abandoned neighborhood, and you have these giant Harryhausen looking cheap props that are like biting people's heads off and stuff. The silliest though it gets is when you get to the stop motion. You can kind of see a little bit in those images there, the top left and the bottom right. Maybe not so much the bottom right, but these claymation totem creatures that are coming alive, when they grab people, the people are these horrible like Play-Doh people that they're picking up and they're splatting against buildings and these horribly made props. Now this is, last I checked, this was on YouTube right now, so this is an easy one to find if you were interested enough.
Does that say at the top of the poster, The Evil Dead meets the Polar Express?
No, Northern Exposure. The Evil Dead means Northern Exposure.
That would be great.
But I'm riding that
I
out.
would watch that movie.
Now explain to the audience what Northern Exposure is.
Just say frostbite.
It doesn't matter.
What's the northern?
Northern Exposure was about a doctor who was paid for his medical school by this town in Alaska, and he has to go be their doctor for a while after.
Yeah, it's a sitcom, wasn't it? I mean, I watched it growing back. I can't remember.
No,
I got
nobody.
All right. This one I particularly really enjoy because it was just so
It's a good one.
different. This is another kind of monster mash, but in a different way. Sorority Girls and the Creature from Hell. He ain't the Pep Squad.
Yeah, everybody knows girls just want to have fun, right? And Sorority Girl is one of the greatest themes in horror. But in this case, these unfortunate females managed to find, let's see, a possessed archaeologist, a bunch of escaped fugitives, and just some angry hillbillies. All in all, it made for a terrible weekend.
Yeah, that's the fun part, is how they're all separate. None of these people are joining forces. They're not having to face them all at the same time. They're literally having angry hicks telling them to shut the hell up and not party so loud from one side. They have fugitives coming out from another side. And then you have, of all random things, a cave that an archaeologist found of Native American relic in. And it makes them to this monster that's got to go grab these girls and bring back for a sacrifice. So it was just crazy to me that they just had all those things happening all at once in this particular film.
So it's now relic made of wood. Alone in the Dark needs deliverance.
Yes.
I can't remember. What is the relic made of?
Is
Yes.
the relic made of wood? Is this another Native American wood relic? Gone wrong?
No, I don't think it's a
I think
Native
it's
American thing.
I think it's stone.
Yeah.
Because it's in a cave, so I think it's stone.
It's an untapped market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this one I think you guys would really enjoy. If you're a fan of RoboCop, I highly suggest watching this. I probably shouldn't even include it as something silly, but I just really like it, and I just want people to know more about it. The Vindicator was a movie that came out actually before RoboCop did. It's all about a scientist that's blown up in a lab for a corporation that's doing a lot of research into space technology for space travel for NASA. And his boss man is using his corpse to test out a new defense mechanism program that's, if anything comes near him, he goes ape shit and kills it. So it's hard for him because he wakes up as, and that's the thing too, real RoboCop, he had the benefit of having a mind wipe. So the fun of it was how long does it take him to recognize who he is and where he comes from and reconnect with his past life. This movie's more horrifying because it's more sci-fi than horror, but it's horrific because RoboCop, you only see his mouth. This guy, you only see his eyes, and they're always bugging out because he's so freaked out, and it just conveys the horror of waking up in this mechanical coffin that he's stuck in. And it's got Pam Grier hired to be a bounty hunter that chases him around, and it's just so well done. And the mechanical suit was actually made by Stan Winston, if you know him from Aliens and Terminator and Predator movies.
This one also has a little bit of a sad Swamp Thing kind of feeling about it. So Swamp Thing, RoboCop, drink a lot and give it a try.
And last I checked, that was also on YouTube. Last I saw somebody had that up.
Oh boy, here we go, yeah.
Now, if you're a fan of It Follows, you might be a fan of this one. This is FleshEating Mothers. They bite off more than they could chew. There's a guy there's a gigolo who's going around the neighborhood sleeping with all the moms, unaware that he is accidentally giving them this virus that turns them into these ghoulish cannibals that are eating their children.
So it's kind of a Desperate Housewives thing until, the ghouls. But
So-
this one is pretty fun.
Yeah, so that's got some fun special effects to it, some really good makeup for what it is. And there's the funniest moment's got to be when they look through a microscope, look at the germs of the virus, and it's all this pencil art that somebody did. It looks like Mike Judge if he were in high school. Next up, we got Bloodhook.
Yep, and you guessed it. This one's about a killer fisherman. He's not particularly intimidating looking, but something gets set off in him if he hears, rock music and the sound of cicadas at the same time. Rarely happens, but when it does, it's bad.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about this one is how many elements do you need to make a guy go crazy just to be the killer? For this guy, he's got a metal plate in his head, and like she says, whenever he hears a combination of obnoxious rock music in somebody's boombox, and he hears that with combination of cicadas in the background, he just goes apeshit, brings out his fishing rod and just starts fishing for people, and he'll there's a scene where he grabs one guy by his dick, fishes him all the way to him, clubs him, and then you can see in the bottom there he keeps the bodies under his dock with the lines through their faces.
Pull out the hook though, I mean.
He ripped it.
One way to find out.
Yeah, eventually. Now what he does do with the bodies is after he hides bodies under the docks, he pulls them inside into his bait shop and turns them into chum that feeds
So
the
in that sense,
fish.
he's a responsible fisherman. He recycles. Every life means something.
This is my worst tagline for a movie ever, too.
Fishing was never like this.
Somebody got paid for that. Really? Come on.
I want a job like that, and I deserve it. I'm good.
It would make the stories of the one that got away real interesting, though.
Oh, but can you see the sub tagline? The sub tagline, you probably can't see that from there. You can't worm your way out. Well, see,
that one's better. That should have switched those two.
Making me squirm.
Okay, speaking of things that kill people in the water, I don't know that this was the tagline for this one, but when I looked at it, I thought, part shark, part man, a hammerhead that walks on land.
Yeah, they hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, half man, half shark, total terror. If you're a fan of Jeffrey Combs from Reanimator, he's the mad scientist of this movie. He creates his own street shark, basically, this hammerhead monster. And he wants to breed this new Sharkman breed of life, and to do that he needs it to mate with women. But the problem is the Sharkman keeps eating the women, so the experiment's not exactly working the way he wants it to.
Yeah, but look at his ass.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Jeffrey Combs deserves his own subcategory. He really does.
He does.
Lightning around here. We're gonna just speed through these.
Okay, in this one, another science experiment gone wrong with genetics. The guy accidentally creates a combination Ratman who preys on a bevy of supermodels.
But the title is misleading because it's not necessarily a Ratman. It's supposed to be a monkey genetically combined with a rat, and it's even more confusing when his name is Mousy. And he has claws where if he strikes you is fatal because they're poisonous. This was filmed with the smallest actor in the world at the time, who's now dead, and he was also the little guy you may remember from Island of Dr. Moreau with Marlon Brando.
Okay, you've heard of the Toxic Avenger. Bad things happen with him when he jumps into toxic waste, but in this one, bad things happen when this person jumps into the sewer.
Right, so this movie, a criminal jumps into the sewer, toxic waste, it turns into a shit monster.
They played it on...
Yeah, props for having turd in the title.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Would you believe what the next movie was these filmmakers made? Retard Dead.
Oh, yeah. Okay, next. Let me know.
Let that sink in. All right, this is a fun one. This is a movie called Cemetery Gates. This is the escaped, experimental, mutated Tasmanian devil. So this critter gets out running through the woods. Scientist that's got to hunt him down is worried because his son is also in the woods making a horror movie. Blood Freak. We reviewed this in our 3rd season of Screaming Soup. This is a man who eats experimental turkey and mutates into a turkey man who only drinks the blood of drugged out hippies.
So right, this Thanksgiving, if you're thinking about getting a little bit crazy with your turkey, like maybe smoking it or frying it instead of the traditional, just as long as you don't go with the experimental turkey, you'll probably be okay.
Should be. But you know why it's not? Do you know the ending? The ending is a mulligan. You find out it's all a dream. It's all a drug-induced dream from eating the experience. I know!
I was like, why is it drug-induced hippies? Like, why is there...
Well, because he wants the drugs and the blood to suck on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving weekend, and those two would go get.
They would. So I'm waking up and saying, I didn't want to be there. All right,
we've all talked about intelligent life on other planets, and we think that they probably look down on us as being inferior beings, and indeed they do, because these aliens, when they get here, they decide that vacuum cleaners are better than humans. Because
I know this one.
Oh my God!
Because at least
what is it about, Chuck?
Clean up after themselves.
It's about screwing vacuum cleaners. Kind of.
Sort of, yeah.
What do they do?
There's a lot of sucking in this film.
There's a lot of sucking.
All right, yeah. So in this particular movie, aliens have created mankind. They come back, they see like a hobo, and they're like, "Oh my God, like mankind is filthy." So then they give life to a vacuum cleaner so it can make love with this hobo, so we can start producing a new breed of vacuum sapiens, so they can clean up after themselves.
Hobos are the next generation.
But unfortunately, the vacuum gets stolen. It starts raping all these different people, men and women, and the women are having these vacuum sapien babies, which is a dustbuster with a Cabbage Patch doll torn up and super glued to it.
That's one interesting paternity test.
If this is one of the worst movies I have ever seen.
You could say it sucks.
Well, no, but look at
They even say it sucks.
No, they don't. It says this film definitely doesn't suck. And liars. Joe Bob Briggs, Monster Vision, TNT, he gave this 4 stars, and I had to call him out on that. I'm like, why'd you give this 4 stars?
You guys know who Joe Bob Briggs is? Look him up. I think he may be his real dad. They do look kind of alike, and that's how a lot of this seemed to have happened.
But anyway, just to end on, we're going to end on this note, but this is a movie we did review in Screaming Soup. It's our first episode of the 3rd season from last year. So again, we are Screaming Soup. Please visit us at screamingsoup.com. We are an animated horror review series. We have like over 100 videos on YouTube. So you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Twitch, you can find us on VidMe. We got Facebook, Twitter, so we're easy to find. And just give a look at what we got. I'm sure you'll enjoy Dead West, who's a cowboy skeleton with a ray gun, who's drinking gasoline all day long with his goat sidekick from hell, a goat named Billy. And they're always on these...
I'm not the goat, I'm the girl.
And they're just, oh yeah, And my wife, Mandy, she stars as the haunted dress Mandy, who's the girlfriend to Dead West, who's this cowboy skeleton.
I make fun of him and drink a lot of wine. It's really a stretch for me.
And our 5th season is going to start in January. We just wrapped up with the 4th season. It's a Halloween finale in October. And we look forward to it. And thank you for coming out.
Thanks, guys.
Well, howdy there, Scream Freaks. Well, thank you kindly for watching, and help yourself to more servings of Screaming Soup by visiting our site at screamingsoup.com. You can read our weekly updates, character bios, and interviews, catch up on past episodes, browse our store, and drool over the Howlin' Hottie of the Week. If you want to scream at us, just holler at screamingsoup@gmail.com, and don't forget to stalk us through social media, conveniently linked at the top of the site.